All right, now, let me, last but not least, before I show you the new pieces, let me just review 2 or 3 of the slides from the trip to Russia. Now, India was in April of '99. I had a chance to go to Russia at the end of May 1999. And I went there specifically to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the African-Russian poet Alexander Pushkin. I have a strong connection with Pushkin. Pushkin was born of well-to-do parents in Moscow in 1799. He is considered the father of all things Russian. The Russian atom, the Russian springtime, the Russian morning. He is credited with inventing the Russian language because at this time most Russian writers were writing in French. Not only that, Pushkin was considered the most intelligent and the most dangerous man in Russia. And he wrote in a way that anybody could appreciate. For example, the poem by Pushkin that I like the most is called I Loved You Once. And the first couple lines go, I loved you once and my heart will not be still, but I will not trouble you further by it. He was talking about something that all of us could relate to. He fell in love with this woman and the relationship didn't work out. So they went their separate ways. But he was saying that just because it didn't work out, that doesn't mean I cease to love you. This is an emotion I think that virtually any human being could relate to. And that was the way Pushkin was. He had a vocabulary of 20,000 words. He is the Russian equivalent to Shakespeare, a man who himself fell in love with a black woman named Lucy Negro. Now, Pushkin was not an isolated phenomenon. I had a chance to lecture in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And what they wanted me to talk about was the image of Africa in Russian at the time of Pushkin, about 200 years ago. And after I heard some other speakers at the symposium, I said, no, that won't do. You are given the impression that Pushkin was an isolated phenomenon in the history of Europe, and that the history of Africans in Europe began with enslavement. And I said that was not the case. So I did a broad presentation on the African presence in Europe. Now, at this time, it was popular to have a handful of Africans among the aristocratic circles of Europe. They were considered like pets or mascots. Pushkin's maternal great-grandfather that you see here was born in Eritrea, in the Horn of Africa in 1699 and taken to Russia. He became a major general in the Russian army and he took the name Hannibal. And it shows a kind of a degree of African consciousness even back then. He was adopted by the grandson of Peter the Great. He abandoned that name, Petrovich, and took the name of an African military hero. Now, this is Pushkin's maternal great-grandfather. I had to go to Russia to get this picture. Couldn't find it in the United States. Next. And this is Pushkin himself. Now, you can't get any blacker than that, can you? This was in the home he lived in when he died. I went in the home he lived in when he got married, the home he lived in when he died. I went to the place where he was mortally wounded in battle. I went to where he went to school. And I really went in search of Pushkin. Next. And this is his library. This brother was so important that when he died, Russians actually stopped their clocks. As a result of that, we know he died at exactly 2:45 p.m. on the 29th of January, 1837. That's how bad that brother was. Now, everybody in Russia knows he had African ancestry, but they don't consider him black. They consider him a Russian with African ancestry. Now, for us, there would be no ifs and buts about it, because we are taught if you have one drop of African blood, you're black. And this is his library. It was kept just the way it was when he died, and I had a chance to go through his library, to touch his books, and you could feel the spirit of Pushkin, I thought, right there.